Well, let me go on to go over the vocabulary in lesson 29. Most of these are introducing forms that have Hithpael special meanings. So you have halak, which you've already had, means to walk. But in the Hithpael, which I, by the way, would tend to abbreviate HTD, capital H, small t, capital D, D having to do with double stem. But anyway, in the HTD or the Hithpael, it would mean to walk about, to move to and fro. And then this gives you the perfect form, the hithalek. And then chava in the Hithpael means to hide oneself. It doesn't happen to occur in the cow. You have the verb chanan, which in the cow means to show favor. Is related to chen, grace. But then in the Hithpael, it means to seek or implore favor. The perfect form would show up as a hit chanan, hit chanan. And then you have tameh, which means to be unclean, basically, or to become unclean. But in the Hithpael, it would mean to defile oneself. Now, in this case, the tav will assimilate, and the form you would actually see in the perfect would be a hit tamah. And then he gives you lamad, which in the cow means to learn, or he learned, whereas limaid in the PL means he taught. So learn in the cow, teach in the PL. Nava, which is related to Navi, prophet, in the Hithpael means to prophesy. And again, the tav sometimes will assimilate and it'll show up as a hinave. Sometimes it will not, which in case it'll show up as a hit nave. And by the way, there's a typo here. That should not be a shabah there. That should be a sere, like in the shorter form with the assimilated tav. But then you have palal, which in the PL means to meditate or judge, whereas in the Hithpael it means to intercede or pray, that is to seek a mediation or an arbitration or a judgment on one's own behalf. Again, the Hithpael form would be a hitpalel. That would be a very common form for praying. Basic idea, the verb seems to arbitrate. As far as nouns, you have chatzer, village, settlement, or enclosure. You have koach, which means strength or power. And unfortunately, here's another typo. That should be a chet, just as you have a chet in the plain spelling of the word. This is just a defective spelling of the word, but the chet should be the same. And then you have karub, which is cherub. The English word cherub is actually a transliteration of the Hebrew. And then you have negev, which means a couple of things. It can mean the south or the south country, and sometimes it's used almost as a proper noun, the negev, and becomes capitalized, but it refers to the country in the vicinity of Beersheba. And then there is a noun similar to the verb palal in the Hithpael, meaning to pray, tapilah, prayer. And then one other vocabulary item, im, which is if, alternative if. So you have exercises of practicing mostly Hithpael forms, HTD forms, walking to and fro and praying and so on and so forth, and so you get to practice those. And then you'll have other sentences to translate from Hebrew into English that will also draw you on a lot of Hithpael forms, but also mix in other types of forms as well. For the rest of this video, I'd like to do some drilling from David Clemens' supplementary exercises for Introducing Biblical Hebrew by Alan P. Ross. And again, this is going to especially draw you on HTD forms or Hithpael forms. So the first form is Hithalaku. You can see the root is He Lamed Kaf, having to do with walking. And you can see the hit in the front, so it's a Hithpael. It looks like it's a perfect third masculine plural, or third common plural, and it would mean they walked back and forth. It turns out that this can also be interpreted as a imperative, second masculine plural. You guys walk back and forth. You guys pace. So let's move on to number 2. He's a karo. First we can pick out the root, Zayin Kaf Resh, which zakar means to remember. There is a doubling in the first consonant, and from this lesson you might suspect that it's a assimilated tav, but actually it's an assimilated noon. This is in fact a nifal infinitive construct with a third masculine singular suffix, and it would mean something like his being remembered. His being remembered. Number 3 is hit palala, or rather hit palla, without a doubling in the lamed. Now here you have the hit in front. Here you have a kamatz hey at the end, and so that would appear to be a Hithpael perfect third feminine singular of palal, and it means she prayed. It could also be the kamatz hey alternative form of the imperative, in which case it could be a command to a male, pray. Now you might ask, well, if this is a Hithpael, why is there no doubling in the lamed? And that goes back to the Ski-Man-Levy rule, that you would normally have a patah and a double here, but when you added the feminine ending, assuming it's a perfect, or the imperative ending, well, that changed the vowel under the lamed into a shavah, and then you had a doubling followed by vocal shavah, and according to the Ski-Man-Levy rule, when you have any of the Ski-Man-Levy letters, that is samik, sin, sheen, sade, yod, mem, nun, lamed, vav, yod again, which you could vocalize Ski-Man-Levy. If you have any of those letters followed by vocal shavah, doubled, followed by vocal shavah, it'll often lose its doubling, as it does in this particular case. Number 4 is kadashuni, and kadashu is the imperative form of the PL imperative of kadosh, to be holy. And then the PL is kidesh. Imperative is kaddeshu. And then you add a first common singular suffix. So in the Cal it means to be holy, in the PL it means to make holy or sanctify, and so that means sanctify me. And then number 5, you have hit tamma'a, hit tamma'a. Now again you have a doubling of the first consonant, but unlike number 2, where you also had a kamatz under that first consonant, which is one of the telltale signs of certain forms of the nifal, here you have the patah of the hithpael, and a doubling of the middle consonant, though strangely enough as a Skeman-Levy letter, it shows it doubling nonetheless anyway. And so this is actually the assimilated tav of the hit, and this would be the infinitive construct form plus a third masculine plural pronominal suffix is from the root tameh, which means to be unclean. The PL would be to make something unclean, to defile it. And then the hithpael would then mean those defiling themselves are similar, or have to do with their defiling themselves. And then number 6, lakachat. And here he's thrown in a simple Cal perfect, second feminine singular from lakah, to take. So lakachat is you, lady, took. Number 7 is melum madav. The shurik under the lamed is one of the indications of a PL form, of a pual form. The mem with a shava under it is the way that you form participles with PL and pual. And then you do get the doubling of the pual. And then this kamatz yod vav is a suffix, third masculine singular suffix on a plural noun. So lamad means in the Cal to learn. In the PL it means to teach. But then the PL would mean to teach. The pual would mean those being taught. And then with the suffix, it would probably mean something like those being taught by him, or his being taught ones, his students, you might say. Number 8, you have mithalaket. Well, here you can pick out the root, halak, to walk. The mit in the front is an indication that this is a participle form of the, in this case, hithpael, with a infix T, and a doubling of the middle consonant, which is also characteristic of PL, pual, and hithpael. The T ending is feminine singular, and with the et ending, the siglet type eket. So this would be a hithpael participle, feminine singular of halak, which means she who is going about, she who is going back and forth. And then number 9 is clearly a vav consecutive, plus a nun with a shava under it, and then a doubling of the middle consonant. That indicates that it's a PL imperfect first common plural with a vav consecutive from kiper, which means to make atonement, and we made atonement.